Breaking news tonight, the verdict is in. Jussie Smollett, he's very much guilty on 5 of the 6 counts against him, and now he's looking at up to 15 years in prison for lying about a phony hate crime. The jury only needed about 8 hours to deliberate and found the evidence was pretty overwhelming. If you recall, Smollett claimed he was beat up by 2 guys screaming, "This is MAGA country!" in Chicago in the middle of the night during a frigid snowstorm. He testified the assailants also doused him with bleach and put a noose around his neck, as you do. Problem is, the 2 guys claim Jussie paid them to do it, and they're not white, not MAGA fans necessarily. They are brothers, and they're actors from Nigeria. They say Jussie gave them money to pretend to beat him up. And they're on video doing a dry run. That is so precious. A witness also saw them buying rope at a hardware store. The Empire actors' attorneys, they're not idiots. They knew they didn't have a good case here, so they did what any lying crap sacks in their position do. They smeared the witnesses. They claimed the brothers did drugs and that one of them was in a sexual relationship with their client. So hot. But in the end, none of that mattered. The jury decided that Smollett, he made it all up and convicted the former Empire actor of orchestrating a hate crime and lying to investigators. Did they make the right call? And what happens now? Will he do any time here to discuss? Attorney and author of How to Become a Federal Criminal. It is Mike Chase. Welcome back to the show, Mike. This is a big night. What did we see in Chicago?
Yeah.
Yes. What did we just see here?
I think you saw a jury that actually paid very much attention to the evidence. You know, if you have a conviction on 5 out of 6 counts, there's a reason that they didn't convict on that 6th. We have some understanding that it may be that they just didn't credit the detective that was testifying on that particular count, that he didn't adequately record or write down these supposedly false statements. But it makes it really hard to say that this jury was just out to get Jussie or that it was a foregone conclusion, because you have a jury that took its time and said, yeah, on these 5, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, no question. On this 6th one, we're not so sure. So we're willing to actually give him the presumption of innocence and the benefit of the doubt, which they should.
So obviously, you know, we've seen verdicts here in a few high-profile cases, particularly with the Kyle Rittenhouse trial and now with Jussie Smollett. Both those high-profile defendants took the case in their own defense. It worked out for Kyle Rittenhouse. Was it a bad idea for Jussie to testify at his own trial?
I think all the reporting coming out of that courthouse suggests that it was a terrible decision. You know, just because it worked out for Kyle Rittenhouse, I would not say that all defendants should do this. It's really dicey, and it's something that doesn't happen a whole heck of a lot. So it's a weird new trend. It sounds like Jussie got kind of snippy and sarcastic with the prosecutor. And in a case like this, literally a lying case, when everything comes down to credibility, you don't want to do that in front of the jury that's deciding your fate. So I think it was a bad call.
Yeah, and the judge admonished him several times when he was taking too much time answering yes or no questions, and he was going off on a few soliloquies and rolling his eyes. And, you know, Matt Finn was reporting that that was in stark contrast to how he responded to his own attorneys under direct questioning, that he was warm and thoughtful and, you know, spoke glowingly of his own mom. And then when the special prosecutor questioned him, that's when he kind of fell apart and fell back on something that I think is equal to a hissy fit in the courtroom.
It's true, and prosecutors love that. That's a gift to prosecutors because they get to go up in front of the jury and they get to say, wow, ladies and gentlemen, didn't you notice that when I was asking questions, it was almost impossible to get any kind of information out of Mr. Smollett. But when his lawyer that he's paying to be here asked him questions, suddenly the answers were flowing out so easily. And juries take note of that. That's credibility is huge.
Yeah, and it seems like you're withholding something. What we did learn about was the dry run video. Do you think that that was the smoking gun in the case?
Yeah. I mean, anytime there's a draft version of your crime hanging out there, I think it's pretty devastating. You know, the fact that there's a video of rehearsing and practicing this, I think is bad. I mean, look, Jussie should probably become a lawyer eventually, not because I think he's terribly convincing, but because, like, when you're a lawyer, you don't have to, like, convince people to beat you up. There's plenty of people that already want to beat you up. The fact that he had to do this rehearsal and pay $3,500, it's just, it all adds up to this irrefutable beyond a reasonable doubt that this was a staged, pure hoax, and that's what the jury found.
So did the brothers fail? No. Are they bad actors since they couldn't convince the world that they were beating up Jussie Smollett?
I think the brothers succeeded here because what they did is they worked with their lawyer really early to get in and cooperate with detectives and become star witnesses and save themselves from any kind of liability for participating in this. That was the whole defense essentially, right? Is that no, they did this on their own accord and they're only out for themselves. I think they did fail. I wouldn't hire them if I was ever going to do this.
So why didn't he take a plea deal? And do you think that he will serve prison time?
To your second question, I think that a custodial sentence is on the lower end of likely. I don't think a judge is necessarily going to want to imprison him for this. I think what is more likely is that he'd get some sort of lengthy probation, which allows a long period for him to pay back the money that's associated with this investigation that was costly and took huge amounts of man hours. In terms of what's next for Jussie, he'll be sentenced and we'll find out then. But I think right now the likelihood that he's going to be locked up for any serious amount of time is low.
Yeah, and I don't think he should be locked up. I do think he should have to pay back all of the time that was spent taken away from other crimes in a dangerous city like Chicago investigating this, because it is a higher profile case. And, there's always more attention paid here. So he should absolutely have to do that. I don't know if the guy's going to work again. Maybe some people feel bad for him now. We shall see. Mike Chase, thank you so much.